Welcome back to the Smite Console League. Finch here, joined by Taco. I'm happy to have you here with me. By the way, my shirt's totally normal. I just wanted to wear this jacket, so everything's fine.
It's a nice jacket, but that shirt looks pretty fresh, too.
Oh, it sure is, yeah.
You should take the jacket off.
Nah, I think I'm cool. Like, it's so cold in here today, you know?
I don't know. I'm feeling kind of warm, actually.
Yeah.
Regretting
I guess I can let everybody have a peek really quick. There we go on the single. Look at that. Yeah, that's the look. That's that birthday look. So we're going to cover that up. So people don't have to know that happened. You were eating some cupcakes,
yeah,
Taco.
that was my breakfast, legitimately. They made me stop. I was fully intending on keeping going. For those of you who are unaware, Finch decided not to tell us it was his birthday, so we decided to show him our unconditional love.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a lot of it. It was many cupcakes, but we've got some more console games we'll talk a little bit about. We like to have some fun, but we'll have some Smite too. Hype Unit against One Night at LAN. We'll go ahead and get the standings up here for you on the screen. Hype Unit, Taco, are not just the best team in this region. They should be the best team playing on a console anywhere, but they are 2-1, and the reason for that is just that they missed a game. I think they had a DQ from both games in that set, and that's why they're down there 2-1. Passion already 3-1. They're trying to keep even with them if they can get this win.
Yeah, Bobby having some troubles with his alarm clock doesn't really seem like a storyline I'm you know, shocker.
Too surprised by you.
not really too surprised here, but that does make things really interesting for Passion, because now that they're at the top of the standings, of course, they might have a little bit more wiggle room, I think, for getting a chance to kind of just breathe easy, at least for the moment. But this is a really important set, I think, for Hype Unit, because we make jokes about them having, taken a loss, but that loss could very well become a much bigger problem if they're not able to bring home this set today. Yeah,
this might cut into their wiggle room a little bit, right? Maybe there was a chance before that they could have afforded to lose a set if they had to play with a sub at some point, or maybe if they're just off and get caught off by some strategy as the meta might change. Now they don't have nearly as much of that wiggle room, Taco, so I'm thinking that they're going to have to play at an elite level, which I know they can, but they're going to do that every single week from here on out.
Hype Unit did not look even the slightest bit phased, though. I mean, even when you draw things back to last week's competitions and the fact that Hype Unit, all their players making the announcements, hey guys, we had to forfeit our sets and everything, but they didn't really seem pressed about it. And for me, that kind of sells the image that this is a team who's very confident and very understanding of the level of talent that they have on this roster. But the question is, will One Night at LAN manage to step up to the occasion?
Well, we're certainly about to find out, Taco. Let's move into those picks and bans for game number 1 so we can get this into action. It's going to be One Night at LAN starting off in that first pick position, then Hype will be following up. And this One Night at LAN team, I want to make sure that I'm clear. I don't think this is a team that you can sleep on. JPrro's on this roster. Forger Vulcan's on this roster. JPrro, excuse me. Thanks for making sure that we got that one correct. Wouldn't want to slip up on that one. JPrro on this team. So these are certainly some players that we know can play well, that have been around the Xbox scene. I don't know if they can quite match up to Hype Unit. Again, no mincing words. This is just the best team that's going to play all day. But anyone can catch them off, I think, if they're playing at the high level.
I think one bright side here, though, for One Night at LAN is the fact that they are going to have the first pick benefits. And not only that, but they've also had a little bit more time, I think, to do some research on Hype Unit. Hype Unit, you know what you're going to get, because these are all players that have been around the competitive scene for so long.
They really have.
But I think it should assist One Night at LAN if they went home and did the research and the homework, which I'm sure these teams did, because they are rather competitive in their own respects. And I definitely think that One Night at LAN already making a pretty smart decision, looking to take that Odin away. Not only is it not going to be an option for Wolves, but you also get some, I think, potential to just cage everybody from Hype Unit. And Hype Unit are still drafting straight into this ring.
That's exactly right. No leaps, right, in these first 2 picks. So they're not afraid of this Odin. I'm a little bit surprised that One Night at LAN are the ones that ban the Freya themselves. Very often you see that delegated to second pick. Do you make them ban the King Arthur and the Freya? And that way you're free to kind of ban out some stuff specific to the other team. But One Night at LAN, clearly they don't want to play it. They're just cool with this Hachiman and the Odin.
I'm just a little bit surprised. I shouldn't say surprised just yet. I do think that One Night at LAN are definitely looking for safe options amidst every single role decision that's made, because Hachiman, that to me screams safety for a hunter. I think you can also afford to be a little bit aggressive if you wanted to.
Interesting.
Or you could even choose to, I think, play things as aggressively as you wanted, as on the Hachiman. But I'm glad that you mentioned the inch down the Awilix. I'm going to let you just take that one.
Sure. I mean, I like this, right? Because it is obviously the attempt to counterpick into the Odin for when he's leaping in. Sometimes it's good if he's jumping at your team and you just pull him. Sometimes you've kind of done his job for him. But if she's catching him over the wall and pulling him away from fights or trying to disengage, that could be really strong to me.
I think it works both ways, for and against Hype Unit. For, because if they use this Awilix and focus on the early game pretty heavily, then they can definitely look to punish this Odin before he has a chance to, I think, really become that raid boss aspect, as well as just incredibly annoying having to worry about an Odin cage every like 30 seconds or so when you're trying to team fight in the mid game. But I also think this can possibly work against Hype Unit if they're not careful, because Awilix, as awesome as she can feel through that early to mid game, sometimes she is the last god you want to be piloting in that late.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel like you don't have nearly as many options as you would on some other assassins, especially if she can have a hard time finding her way in, which sometimes she can. So we'll see how this pick ends up working. This is a big comfort pick, I would say, for Hype Unit. We'll see if they can make it work. Sun Wukong going to come in, but so is the Terra from One Night at LAN. One thing I've been wondering, Taco, is if we're going to see that SPL start from these two teams, or from any of the teams here today that we saw happening last week. Terra is one of the gods that's very good at it.
Terra is definitely strong at that, but I think that there is enough early game presence from Hype Unit to kind of de-incentivize One Night at LAN from wanting to look for those aggressive early game moments. But not only that, I love this Sun Wukong pick because it's going to introduce a little bit of that setup consistency that I definitely think Layers was going to be needing on the Awilix, because this is not an easy composition to take Awilix into. I mean, sure, you've got the Odin, that's an easy slam dunk for the gravity surge, but Hachi, Mercury, Terra, Zeus, all that burst in one spot can cause a lot of problems for a melee guy like Awilix. That's
right, no other knockups or setups or anything like that. And One Night at LAN have the Odin-Zeus combo, so a lot of interactions we're going to be keeping our eye on. And I'm wondering about those casters as well. Let's get it on over to them so they can start the game.
Thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot, Taco. Tom and Ryan here, standing by to bring you the action. And, of course, Doug delivering, quite literally. JPrro, Keegan, these guys, two of the stronger players outside of Hype Unit. And as we look at Hype Unit, these guys, some of the stronger players on the sticks, period, console history of all time. Yeah, done.
And the defending champs. They've got a lot of accolades. Yeah, they're a pretty good squad. So One Night at LAN's going to have to bring their best.
Which
they want to get the win here, but
I think it's possible.
They could do it. And they're going to try with an interesting strat, an old Season 4 favorite, or was that Season 3? It's all running together now.
3 at the end.
Season less than where we are now favorite. Starting the Hunter in the mid lane in order to get pressure and rotate towards red. Gryph and Inbound could rotate in and try and harass Keegan and Soul Reaper, but instead they're just going to head straight to red buff. But this is good news for One Night at LAN, because this is shortly going to be a 3-on-2.
Yeah, Fortune Vulcan here by himself, just getting in the middle of everything. Keegan's here alongside Soul Reaper. A nice stun on top of Inbound, and he's got help from Raijin, though. The damage going up into FB. Fortune Vulcan gonna get on out of there just barely.
JPro's here now, and he's level 2. He's gonna toss Gryph. No beads are good enough, and Soul Reaper is actually gonna be first blood. Forger Vulcan with a nice stun, actually hitting 2. Could be enough to save his life. Hype Unit just a little bit too quick on the response, with both Layers and Inbound and oBoronic all showing up to help Gryph as well. Keegan isn't allowed to be there, but hits level 2 by getting the minis, and that saves his life. So gets a little bit fortunate in that position. Hype Unit just a little bit too quick on their feet to get caught by that strat.
Yeah, Layers a little bit. Layers always going to be there first, of course. He's on the Awilix, with or without Suku. I mean, he's going to be kind of zooming. Inbound by himself, fighting into 2 different players. A little bit problematic, but doesn't care in the world. The rest of his team, however, shading over. Here comes Gryph. And here he is. In lane. Cernunnos ready to really dish it out. And very reminiscent of what we've seen in the Pro League coming out from Hype Unit. High damaging warrior support that can kind of do things on their own. I am extremely hesitant to say jungle 2, but it is very, very close to that, what we've seen here, and even some plays in the Pro League.
Inbound's been playing these aggressive supports basically all season so far. It's only 4 weeks in, but he's been playing a lot of these Achilles and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Seems to fit well with Hype Unit. Doesn't seem to really want to give the enemy team an early advantage of any sort. We know we're usually going to be the better team, so why not just show up and be the better team from minute 1? It does, I think, hurt their late game overall. I think the late game here for Hype Unit is bad. With Achilles support and Awilix in the jungle.
And a Sun Wukong.
If this team falls behind, they're going to have a lot of struggles, but Hype Unit's game plan is to just go ahead and not fall behind, which certainly is possible with such an aggressive composition.
And it sounds kind of flippant, especially the way that Ryan and I started the broadcast, that Hype Unit is by default the top card. They've got all the hardware, all the accolades, right? But at the end of the day, you know, you also have to be aware of who and what you can do. If you are going to bring this, if you truly think you're the stronger team, and that's, you know, look at the game factually. If that's the case, you can bring out a mid-game monster and just look to swoop the opposition before they can even get situated. Because you look across the way at Night At LAN, and you see the Terras, you see the Mercuries, you see the Zeuses. I mean, if it gets late game, Hype Unit kind of just loses. They're betting on themselves to be the better team here. Holla Pete Rose.
Now, it's not like if it gets to 35 minutes, Hype Unit has to surrender. That's not how it works. They'll still have a chance.
No, that's the law.
But, oh, well, hopefully it doesn't get to 35 minutes then. We should make a rule like that.
Just in general.
Yeah. If it hits, like, 70 minutes, the game's over.
I wholeheartedly agree.
What if the Titans left their rooms and walked down mid lane and started fighting there at 70 minutes?
Ooh, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. That actually goes all the way back to the RuneScape card game, one of my favorite games of all time.
How so?
They had a mechanic like that. We had about 4 turns with 4 turns within them, so about, like, I guess 16 turns, and then the 17th turn, you just fought each other.
Inbounds got the fight coming to him, courtesy of JPro's ultimate, but a nice
stun.
double stun. Wants to put out some damage on the retreat as well. JPro's ultimate not enough to set up that kill. There's just not enough damage. I don't know if Forger Vulcan's CC was off. That's the only way you kill Inbound from that position, is if you chain CC him properly.
Yep.
Off of Sonic Boom and Special Delivery, and I wonder if Forger Vulcan's wasn't there, or they just missed enough skills where that didn't work out.
Well, Hype Unit so far has amassed about 1,000 gold on top of the 500 that they've gotten for the old First Blood. Not a bad look at all.
By the way, I've been thinking about your RuneScape card game analogy, and I just don't think it fits.
No, it totally fits. So you didn't play Chronicle, and unfortunately you can't because it is down for the count. But you're familiar with Magic, so you're playing the game, going back and forth, right? And then what happens is you give your character attack damage itself, and your character goes across. It's harder to explain, but essentially you're trying to bring the opponent down to 0. And then if you don't, then your characters just fight it out, and it's an inevitability, just like a Titan jump. Wolves take it off there. It was a great game, and if anybody out there works for Jagex, please holler at me so I can think about the game.
Sounds like you're already doing that by yourself. I don't know.
I really am, okay? I really miss it. It was unique, and it was exciting, and there was no other game like it. And that's my segue into Hype Unit. No other team is unique and as exciting and on the level of this squad. You like that one?
No. Wolves going for Blink at level 1 is a pretty big risk by my estimation. He's not likely to jump on top of anyone, though JPro's trying to do that to layers. You're not going to get the jump on people usually pre-level 12 out of the solo lane. Sure, he could rotate in and kill Soul Reaper with it potentially, but chances are he could have gotten that kill without the help. See what oBoronic and layers are doing to him right now. Easy Tycho drums.
No problem.
Underneath the tier 1 tower. We do have a Boosh Beads alert. Soul Reaper's beads on cooldown after the knockup.
Woof. Not a great look there for the mid lane mage. Zeus, of course, trying to make it to the late game. Zeus, one of the characters that got touched up recently, correct?
Indeed. He lost a lot of base damage, specifically on Detonate, and how that multiplication works, depending on how many charges you have, but definitely feels better to play in the later stages of the game. So you still potent in the early game.
Yep.
You're just not doing 3x damage whenever you detonate. with all 3 charges, so there's a noticeable downtick in damage in the early game for sure, but if you get to those later stages, you really still get to swing pretty hard.
That's really just a late game character further tilted into the late game atmosphere. And I'm with you. With Wolves, so first of all, I don't like anytime a solo laner gets away from teleport. I think that's cool. I think there's a lot of value to that relic spot. That slot alone, you know, not even talking about what other relics are of the option, but just the limitation of only 2 relics a game, right? And then on top of that, sure, you can teleport to a ward and get an extra life, but I almost think all the time a teamfight relic is almost more impressive when you've got a shell or a meditation. But the blink, I'm with you. I think it's a little bit interesting to see it this early on. Layers getting jumped on, uses his jump, but he's on his own side of the map, so ain't no thing. Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, not going to get pulled there. 8.5 in, hype unit up 2.
Is that the appropriate area code? 805? Is that? He says it all the time. We should know this,
you
right?
should know. You teamed with Chapo.
I don't know.
It's Miami.
I could check his phone number.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Don't say it on stream.
Why would I ever do that?
I mean, I can say your phone number.
I would never do that.
613.
Are you pretending to say my phone number?
Yes. Well, Forger Vulcan's going to get called up by Layers. And off-screen, oBoronic eats it, but here's the dash. Oh, inbound! Missed call! Figures it out a little bit later with the after the message text. And Forger Vulcan goes down for the count. Keegan takes care of inbound, Layers takes care of Keegan. Gryph in the air, and here comes JPrro and Reaper with not a good ult whatsoever. Gryph is going to run right on through, looking for the basics, and he can't find them either. So JPrro, safe and sound beneath his tier 1 tower.
A little sloppy on the left side, but at the end of the day, Forger Vulcan still dies, and Keegan still dies, so not all bad for hype unit. oBoronic taking a spill in the mid lane is not what you want to see, though, if you're the hype unit fan, especially when you know your jungler is ganking on another side of the map. It's your job to stay very safe. And speaking of, when I played with Chapo, something I used to get yelled at for all the time was, if you know I'm playing elsewhere, there's no reason for you to ever be anywhere besides your tower line.
That's fair.
Unless you're rotating in, but if you're rotating in, you need to stay really, really safe. And so oBoronic either got caught in the mid lane pushing a wave that he shouldn't be pushing, or rotating too high and got picked by JPrro and Soul Reaper.
You can see the ward vision coming out, as Doug points out. You've got a sentry ward up here by the red, and then of course the regular old Night At LAN ward right next to the duo lane. Mercury was able to be spotted out. Also one right in the middle of the lane. That was really the key there for hype unit. oBoronic now going to be a little bit safer now. But Wolves dealing with Pitbull, Mr.
805, which is in California.
That's not Miami.
Correct.
Miami is.
I would.
You gotta say Miami.
Am I singing along to a Will Smith song?
Yes! Un besito acá, Miami.
You know, Finch, I was riding in the car with Finch a couple days ago, and he didn't want to listen to Will Smith rap. What's that about?
Why?
That's what I'm saying.
Which song?
Well, I was willing to go through a mix, but because Finch was so against it, I put on the most recent, because I thought that was fun.
Forger Vulcan in some trouble, and just the 2 of us. Inbound combines with the jungler to take down Forger Vulcan.
Now that is quality work by you, Tom, I do have to say. Layers seems to be really willing to put an investment into killing this Terra pretty early on, and this is the time to do it. Before Forger Vulcan has sovereignty, especially when you're going to be able to pull out Terra's Blessing in those instances. Now the team fight potential, even when he respawns, is very low because it's a long cooldown ultimate.
Well, hype unit really making control of this left side of the map. Layers going to get some flack for it, but does get the kill on the Keegan. Everything going to be walking away. I definitely thought we'd see a little bit more over what was going to be happening.
Layers just a little bit too weak to go for Gold Fury at that point, and Soul Reaper, even though he doesn't have the ultimate, still Zeus, so it's hard to out-secure him. But Layers looking real good right now on this Awilix. To get when you start getting those, I'm just going to blink in and knock you up. I mean, those are not easy kills to execute on. You have to blink behind them, 180, Moonlit Charge, then get your Feather Step off all before they can beads or start dashing away. Layers playing pretty well right now, and that's when we're talking about early game compositions that need to get ahead. We're talking about the Awilix and the Achilles. Those two in particular, 2-0 and 4 for Layers, 3-1 and 2 for Inbowned. Two of the top 3 damage dealers on their team in the top half overall in player damage. Hype Unit is playing this composition exactly how it's drawn up.
12 and a half, almost 13 minutes in, 6-2, and Hype Unit with a decent lead of about 5,000 gold, 4,001. And as we look at that, that's kind of what we were talking about, where Hype Unit needs to get off the ground early so they can leverage this mid-game monstrosity that they have as far as their draft is concerned. Now looking for the Gold Fury. They're not on the east side of the map. Soul Reaper in trouble, not going to be able to walk there either. And again, a leash for Hype Unit.
This is perfect. Again, it doesn't matter that they leashed. No, they didn't give anything up, and they just got Soul Reaper's beads for Inbound walking forward and taking 15% of his health that he can easily get back pretty quickly. I think that's the right way to play that Gold Fury. I would like to see them group up still and still try and force this, but the threat of Pitbull being here with his Blink Cage a little bit too much. They're probably waiting until level 12 where they can get a Phantom and then not have to worry about the cage at all.
Big deal.
To take the next fight. And they should, and Inbound in particular, should be hitting level 12 before this next fight breaks out, which means it'll be pretty easy for them to group up and still take the next engagement with Inbound at level 12 while Soul Reaper's beads are still on cooldown.
Dear Lord, Forger Vulcan just now hitting level 9. So that's almost a 3-level lead.
Not exactly what you're looking for. I say that facetiously. It's definitely not what you're looking for. Especially in these sorts of matchups. Terra really does need to be in the thick of the battle. And with her finally finishing Sovereignty, she at least has a hope of being in the middle of it now, but still going to be pretty easy to knock her down in comparison when you look at Inbound's Achilles.
Oh, where did that go? Where did that go? The Totem of Coup taken by Hype Unit.
That's all 9, by the way, going Hype Unit's way.
And Pitbull really tried to get that last one. Really, really tried. Certainly.
He got so far. But in the end, you know what I'm supposed to say.
I don't. What were you going to say?
It didn't even matter.
No, it does matter. I really want to know.
No, I'm saying that's the next lyric.
Lyric?
Yeah, it's a song.
Whoa. I never knew that. What song? Could you sing it for us?
No.
Gold Fury started here by Hype Unit, half HP. And again, seems to be just a bait inbound. The front line. Soul Reaper is gone! Layers puts a lucky number 7 up here. JPrro with a nice cut across, but nothing to really come from it. Hype Unit just still pushing up on this west side of the map. Forger Vulcan knocked up, pulled down, and there's another combination of the animals. Layers slays, picks up another one. Up, down, not the best move. The cage would be good. And Feather Step out of the ring. Layers is out of control right now.
Still a little bit weak, but should be able to find it. Indeed he does, right on top of Pitbull. Keegan, no ultimate, needs to be really careful. Layers actually puts him in place with the Feather Step, cleans up a quick double on this Awilix, now in double digits for Hype Unit, and they're going to get their first big objective of the game in the Gold Fury. Unless
JPro's here?
JPrro has something to say about it.
Let's give him the floor. Made you look, steal it. Way too early. It was a good time. Ooh, that was close.
That was close.
No hate. That was JPrro. That was a good look from JPrro. It's exactly the way I want to see it. You toss out the one, and good timing. If he got it, he walks away. If he doesn't, he walks away. Beautiful play there. Just unfortunately for JPrro, not enough.
Another good fight, though, from Hype Unit. Wolves gets there a little bit earlier than Pitbull, but still the impact from Wolves way greater. Pitbull is in the middle of a team, has one bird bomb to get off before he really gets in trouble, and that's an easily Aegis ability. It's that Soul Reaper is way too far forward. And it feels wrong, right? You need to be close enough to be able to impact a Gold Fury fight should it break out. So why can't I step up to that first pillar? But when your beads are on cooldown and you're playing Zeus, even beads doesn't really save Soul Reaper from that position. What killed him was Oboronic's 2-1 over the wall.
Yep.
That's pure positioning. He just needs to be further back, and that's where this deficit on Forger Vulcan comes into play as well, because Forger Vulcan has to stay so far back that influences where Soul Reaper can be. He feels like he needs to be closer, but Forger Vulcan can't really protect him because he's only level 10. And it's a domino effect to where Soul Reaper ends up way out of position in a spot where normally your support could do a little bit more for you.
Well, so far, Forger Vulcan has fallen down 3 times, 3 levels underneath his direct opposition in that support lane. 3, 1, and 4 for Inbound across the way. 100% kill participation for jungler Lair Slays. That's absolutely the look you want to have.
I had this conversation with Finch 2 weeks ago, I believe. Which is your favorite iteration of Lairs' gamer tag?
So you've got, well, you've got trouble for Griff at the moment. JPrro picking up number 3 for his team. Bobby's here, and he's going to get spun around, but here comes oBoronic, baby! Just dealing out enough damage to send everybody packing. Nobody wants to deal with that Raijin.
Bit of a panic Aegis there from Soul Reaper. Lairs' Feather Step, such a threat that he's a preemptively Aegis even at full HP.
I believe it.
With help coming. Guess he didn't know where Wolves was. Look at how many wards are on the map deep in the enemy jungle for Hype Unit. I mean, it is a full line on purple, not even red, but behind red towards back camps. Speed buff, in between XPs and blue. I mean, these are very, very aggressive wards that, and they have what, 1 on their own side of the map by their own purple?
Yeah.
You can tell that they're looking to play aggressive.
Well, this has been sort of a strong look, I think. This is one of the ways to tell when a team is truly ascended, right? Hype Unit's been good for a long time, right? Whatever you want to call them, Astral, I'm sure there was something different before. But when you look at this squad and you see just Smite in a vacuum, you see this level of ward vision coming out and this level of teamwork come out. This is a strong team, independent of league, opposition, meta. These guys know what the hell they're doing. And if the win-loss column wasn't good enough, well, anytime you see a map peppered with wards like that, you know that this team is on that other level.
Lairs has a ward Chalice, as does Inbound, so those two are putting out consistent wards anytime they leave their base, which pretty often.
Uh-oh. Reaper going to be poly, thanks to the Cernunnos ultimate from oGryph, but that's about it. Primal Fury not up just yet, so Hype really can't get anything for shoving the opponent out of there.
You were saying about your favorite iteration of Lairs gamer tag.
So
there's
Lairs,
Lairs Slays.
Layers of Death.
Layers of Death.
Just
Lairs
Lairs.
OD.
Lairs OD. I like Lairs OD.
Chaotic Purpose. KP.
So calling him KP was really, that's one of my favorites.
I got another fight. I just want the answer.
All right, here we go. Mid pull, up, down. That's going to miss. Oboronic into the ultimate. And JPrro knocked up and knocked down. Lairs comes through and lines things up for Oboronic. We've seen that 100 times, and I can see it 100 more.
Wolves has a great opportunity to flank here.
Oh,
Remember,
what's
he
up?
has that
Oh,
blink.
what's up?
Soul Reaper doesn't even need the blink. It's a big, slow knock-up on the Soul Reaper as well. This Zeus, remember, no Aegis for him either. This should be an easy kill for Wolves.
There it is. It's going to be the spin. Soul Reaper falls down. The Jiggle Bang still trying to keep players at a distance. Pitbull with the up-down, but Inbound just tanking up the tower. And players trying to chip it down. Pitbull pulled back. 7 kills. Unstoppable. Lairs slays all day. And it's 13 up there for Hype Unit.
Good attempt by One Night at LAN. Pitbull's doing a good job of buying a lot of time. Just not dealing quite enough damage. Just the nature of the beast of Odin. He's not there to be your big burst damage guy, specifically at 21 minutes into the game. I mean, the teamfight recap tells a good story. Damage is fairly even. It's just that Hype Unit was a little bit more focused with their damage, and as a result got a lot of kills instead of letting a lot of people get away with low HP bars.
1,600 extra damage on the side of Hype Unit. Primal Fury pulled by the guys from One Night at LAN. Wolves here by himself, gonna land on down and not get that leash. That was a big boy play coming out from One Night at LAN. Really like their intention to keep that, realizing Wolves is here alone. Keegan might die for it, but he's got the horses in the back, so he's gonna be all right there. And JPrro on the run gets out.
You know, for the last set of the day, you're on fire right now, by my estimation. Maybe you're just playing to the crowd. The crowd being me in this instance, but horrible references will get you very far with me.
Hey, that's a great song. Can you sing it for us?
No.
I am going to get Aggro to sing on broadcast one of these days.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Want to bet?
Yes. I do want to bet.
That is a horrible bet to take.
Production is now telling Aggro to sing.
I'm in control in this instance.
Oh, I think you don't understand how little control you have. Fire Giant being fought around here as Forger Vulcan's trying to deal with it. Here's Oboronic through the wall. Nope. Nope. Just going for the damage. There's the land on top. Right side, by the way. JPro's just getting deleted. I'm watching Layers just play around like a Tonka truck. Up, down, toss him to the right. I don't care. I want a new toy to play with, he says. And he finds Pitbull and breaks that one again.
Good damage, though, coming from Forger Vulcan's ult and the detonate from Soul Reaper. That's enough to take down Layers. The rest of Hype unit started up this Fire Giant while Wolves and Layers were fighting, but they don't have nearly enough damage in order to get that. They do, however, have enough damage to get double kills for Bobby.
Oh, man. Inbound just flying around like Naruto, man. Keegan over here trying to do his best, but it's 3 versus 1. And I don't care how much sad anime music you post on Twitter, you ain't getting that kill, my friend. Inbound, 6-1 and 8. Bob E coming through. Ding. It's 18 for Hype unit.
I guess the Fire Giant was just a bait. 200 IQ plays from Hype unit, understanding that they've got nowhere near enough damage to do fire, but it brings One Night at LAN close enough and right into their clutches for easy executes for Inbound. I thought Inbound was going to go aggressive. It looked like he was starting to build a Blackthorn hammer, but it seems that he sold that off, the Cudgel 1, and instead went pure tank.
Discipline.
In that Gauntlet of Thieves. I don't mind. His base damage is good enough at this point that it doesn't really matter.
And you have an execute. Like, that's what you're there for. Realistically, like, you know, other people do the damage, and then you go, just take care of business. So I like this story that I created where Layers and Bobby are just kind of in the playpen, like think Rugrats style, and Layers is just breaking all these toys, the toys being One Night at LAN, and then, I want a different one, and then Bobby's like, no, me first, and he breaks all the toys before Layers can.
So they're Lil and Phil.
Yeah, pretty much. I kind of love it. Oboronic is, I don't know. You think Wolves is Angelica?
No, I think Oboronics Tommy Pickles.
Yeah, that makes it. Oh, I don't know. I think truly Bobby is Tommy. No, okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
No, he's definitely Lil or Phil.
Oboronic is Tommy Pickles. I can see that. A solemn leader of the pack.
No, maybe that's Griff.
No. Griff is like Chucky. It's kind of there. Forger Vulcan using the Terra ult. Hype unit needs to recollect. To be forced onto it by Pitbull. I don't know if that's the right choice. The ultimate follow-up from Soul Reaper. This is an all-in from One Night at LAN, and they haven't gotten really anything, Ragro.
I mean, they got Phantom. That's big. I think that's worth your Blink Cage. I don't think that was the right ultimate from Soul Reaper, and to be fair, I don't think I've seen the right ultimate from Soul Reaper yet this game. His ultimates have left a little bit to be desired.
You've got to understand when you're playing into a counterspell right there. Like, you're going to get Phantom. Don't double down. Here's the double down from Hype unit as they surge forward. Soul Reaper in the middle. No idea where he is, but he goes over Bobby, and Bobby puts him down anyway. 1 for the money. Soul Reaper going to be sitting on the sidelines as Layers puts 2 for the show. Now the jump forward. Asuku is down, and Pitbull, well, he's ready to go. Double kill for Layers slays as Hype unit find themselves with a 10,000 gold lead. They slink back into the jungle, and they're going to steal that man's speed buff.
I think it's time to stick the backs as fast as possible and go straight for Fire Giant. Griffin Oboronic being half health, Wolves being under half health. This is a bit more risky.
Layers has ult.
Layers has ult, so this might be another bait on the Forger Vulcan.
No, I mean Layers should just pop ult and go ham.
Could. Maybe it seems like they're fine. With Wolves having ultimate, the decoy would normally tank, though. This time it's going to head for Forger Vulcan. Looks like they've got enough damage and spread out the health bars enough where Fire Giant will go down for them. No one should die.
I like the play. You say should. I like the play. Oboronic needs to use the ultimate. Coming out from JPrro here, One Night at LAN. Going for the Oni Fury. The Oni Fury is actually a really good look here. When you're looking at the enemy team with a giant lead and a Fire Giant, the Oni Fury is going to force Hype unit to do something other than just barrel down your lanes. Now, it should be relatively easy for them to just spread out and kill 1 wave each, but the thought process is in the right place at the very least. That is, I've seen maybe 2 or 3 plays that I've actually liked out of One Night at LAN. Unfortunately, that number is very low, but that's one of them.
I think that if I'm JPrro, I walk in and Oni Fury is the last face I want to see in that pit. Because with Primal Fury, at least we have a chance to maybe burn a Fire Giant or steal it away.
Sure.
If Hype Unit's pulling it later on. If it's a Gold Fury, we can recoup more of our lost gold that we're down. Oni Fury, as you mentioned, yes, it maybe slows Hype Unit down by an extra 15 seconds. But this is where Oni Fury's at its weakest, where the enemy team has plenty of time and no worries about spreading out, clearing the waves, and then grouping back up together. Oni Fury is much better when you have the lead because it's putting pressure on the opposition to clear all their waves simultaneously.
I agree, but anytime the opposition has a Fire Giant and I can't fight you, my goal is to waste your time.
Sure.
So if I do have to make it, 15 seconds in the long run, that's a big deal because how long does it take to really siege, right? You need a wave of minions. Well, you have EFG, so that's a different story, but you gotta wait for your minions. I can clear the minions. That could take 30 seconds sometimes, just sitting up at that front door. You waste 15, 20 seconds of my time. That's a full minute all of a sudden. So it's a look. It's a look for sure. And Night At LAN getting good aggressive here and try and serve onto the opposition. This is actually a really good engagement, but where's the follow-up? Night At LAN needs to go on the backside, and they do. Keegan and Pitbull combine and take out two different players, but Layers is on the back line, punishing Keegan for his up-front play.
Yeah, I don't know if that Phantom was late from inbound or if it just didn't hit onto Gryph. That was the dream scenario, though, is that Pitbull catches both carries, or at least one carry in Gryph, and then Soul Reaper's ultimate kind of takes care of the rest. A bit unfortunate that JPrro gets face planted right into the wall, but to only lose a tier 2 tower in left and in mid when being down by this much is definitely a win so far. It looks like Hype Unit's not willing to totally give up sieging quite yet. Layers are going to have that ultimate up pretty soon, and as you alluded to during their Fire Giant kill, you can pop Gravity Surge and do quite a bit to these towers. If the rest of Night At LAN isn't here in time, then Layers could just kill this within 5 to 6 seconds.
It's pretty absurd. Let's take a look at this, even without the minions.
Oh wow, they don't even need it. Hey, Enhanced Fire Giant is good.
Yeah, definitely a nice look here. 22-7. 22 was Nickelodeon when I was a kid.
26.
Pittsburgh, 26.
It was great because 25 was USA Network, which you already know. I was tuning into Psych and Burn Notice.
Yo, Burn Notice.
26 was Nick. 27 was ESPN. Like I had a nice little trifecta in there.
Yeah, we had 30. It was 22 for Nick, and then 32 for Cartoon Network. But then 32, 33 was USA, 34 was ESPN, 35 was ESPN too. So you had to go from Nick and jump up, but then you had a whole like.
Yeah, ours was in the mid-20s, and then Cartoon Network was 39, and Disney Channel was 40.
See,
so,
I Disney Channel, I was too cool from a baby's age. I was always too cool for Disney Channel. Sorry. I know you're a big iCarly fan to this day.
Right.
You watch a lot of iCarly.
Definitely.
Actually, there's an old AMA
I'm watching it right
Aggro
now
did.
on my phone.
I believe that. There's an old AMA that Aggro did when somebody
Sam,
asked
you're
him,
so silly. Why would you say that here?
Why did you become a commentator or like Twitch personality?
Ooh,
and
what
you
did I
said-
say in that AMA?
You said iCarly inspired you.
How so?
Because she was a YouTuber and you wanted to do that as well.
Well, it wasn't YouTube. It was that other thing.
iCarly Tube.
Whatever it was called.
Yeah, what you know.
It should come up any minute now in this episode that I'm currently watching.
Well, we'll see. So can we call you iRarly?
Why would you call me that?
Because it's like iCarly, but with Ryan. I guess iRyan would be better. But Are
you good? How did it take you that many seconds to understand that it was just Carly the name and had nothing to do with the Arly suffix?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Carly, Barley, Harley. There's a lot of things out there with an Arly.
Rarly.
Night At LAN. Trying to wrestle control of this area. Pink's coming out. As Layers is looking for the big flank. There's a clap on the Wolves. And team still jockeying for position.
Now, Hype Unit, I believe, should have 1 Primal Fury buff, so they're doing 5% more, this Fire Giant. That means it won't take too long for them to take it, but Wolves pretty far forward, blinking from layers. That'll force mounted archery and Forger Vulcan's ultimate. That's a win for Hype Unit. Wolves has to use his ultimate. He got a little spooked, but that's still pretty good, though. Wow, Phantom also expended by Inbound. That's got to be better communication between Wolves and Layers and Inbound on how far away these damage dealers are. That if there's cage coming down, you gotta, as you're engaging, it's gotta be, hey, I'm zoning Zeus, or hey, I'm zoning Hachi. Like, there's gotta be that level of communication where Inbound, even in the heat of the moment, doesn't even need to look at his mini-map. He needs to understand where the whole fight is playing out in his head, and that's gotta be communication coming from Layers and Wolves. He can't see their screen. If he would have known that Zeus and Hachiman were so focused on those two, he never has to use Phantom.
It's a big play. One thing I do want to point out as far as itemization is concerned is Wolves. So he leaves the teleport table at home, and then what he's able to do after the fact is pick up the Ankh, leveled up. So every time Terra pops his ultimate, what happens is it's inevitable that players are going to get healed, which means it's inevitable that players are going to take a whole lot of extra damage. And that's a really cute look.
Oboronic really early up into those Tycho drums. Needs to try and find those taunt shots, but sprint expended by Forger Vulcan gets him out of the danger zone. Now JPrro going really aggressive with that dash. Yeah, he has to Aegis right away, but a really good cage. Where's the ultimate follow-up?
Well, it's on top of Pitbull. Problem is, it's from the enemy squad. Soul Reaper does get one as he puts down Griff. And now Hype Unit on the offensive. Forger Vulcan, 50% at one time now, down to 0. Inbound with a big ol' execute. Gonna make that one look good. And Hype Unit gonna send their jungler back to base. They're gonna send Keegan back to base the hard way. But Inbound dies to the trucker horn. Soul Reaper versus Wolves. Aegis, did he even Aegis the stick? I didn't think so. But Wolves walks away anyway.
And that's all because that Phantom was used by Inbound in the last fight, and Pitbull gets another good cage off. Takes Soul Reaper a little bit to walk up there, but better late than never. Griff falls pretty quickly as soon as Lightning Storm comes down. It's another...
It's a huge win for Night At LAN.
Yeah, another unimpressive ult from Boronic, I'd say. The Tycho drums this game, he had the one good one right at level 5 underneath the tower that killed Soul Reaper. And since then, they've been pretty hit or miss so far. I mean, take a look at the damage breakdown. Percussive Storm does way more.
Yeah.
There's no Tycho drums on the board because he did 0 with it. That you just need to get more damage out of your late game mage ultimates than that.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that was definitely the because it's interesting. You throw out that ultimate and then you kind of whiff, and your team full commits anyway. Which I sort of respect, right? The idea is that, well, we've expended our ultimate, we have to go anyway. And Night At LAN was just ready. The blink forward coming out from Pitbull, he's keeping it 100 and just locks everybody in there. Took Soul Reaper, like somebody had to text him and he had to answer it and then use the ultimate, but he does get the Hunter. And we're at the point in the game where 1 or 2 picks can really make you fully reset. Now, that doesn't give Night At LAN the momentum or the advantage or the ball, so to speak, but what it does is it forces Hype Unit to reset. What I call this a stop. Hype Unit has all the momentum in the world, and Night At LAN needs to stop, right? Now, the problem is, Night At LAN needs multiple stops in order to kind of even this up. This is still Hype Unit's game at the moment, but plays like that, not that one. Not that one. The one before. Are the types of plays you want to repeat. You get 4, 5 of them, maybe even pushing it, maybe just 3 or 4, and all of a sudden, this is theoretically a tie game. Anybody can win it. Right now, Hype Unit still has the upper hand.
Definitely, but not for much longer. It's really only the elixirs of speed that are the separating factors now for Hype Unit. They are fully 6 items stacked mostly across the board, whereas many people of Night At LAN still have their boots. In fact, everybody on Night At LAN still have their boots. But a Pyromancer means that Night At LAN now has the opportunity to back to base if they get poked out and return pretty quickly to these engagements, whereas Hype Unit, especially with their Soul Laner not having teleport, is a big difference in their ability to disengage and then re-engage. Teleport's an interesting relic in my mind because in the early game, it's a huge resource to get back to lane and make sure you're not losing out on farm. But and then it has a down period, a bit of a lull where it's no longer that useful. Now in these situations, it's really nice.
Forger Vulcan to start the team fight, blinking forward and bringing out the Terra ult. There's the ring after the fact. Oboronic with a good ult this time. Keegan is deleted as Wolves put the last hit on that one. Oboronic saved by the shell of a teammate, and JPrro, no such luck. Layer is going to cut him down right there.
Griff just a little bit off the mark, couldn't quite get that finishing blow onto Pitbull, but Soul Reaper, his kill is kind of up for the taking now. Layers will claim it for himself. That means 15 for Layers in this game. And that fight was going really, really well for One Night at LAN until Keegs just smorks his way into the backline as a Hachiman. That's just that was just bad positioning from One Night at LAN's Hunter and really throws that whole engagement.
You know, and I hate to say it, but I understand it, Ryan. I think that One Night at LAN is Keegan feels like he needs to play hero ball right now. Nobody on his team is performing correctly, and Keegan is a strong player. Keegan's the guy that makes these plays, and when the going gets tough for this team, I think that's what we're going to see, is that Keegan repeatedly stands up and tries to make these plays. And sometimes it'll work. This time it did not. Hype Unit take this one 38 minutes, 1-0.
So the two characters we said need to have good early games, the Awilix and the Achilles, combined for 25 kills.
That's good early game.
Pretty solid work from them. Those two players, Inbound and Layers, just played really, really well, got off to an early lead. And One Night at LAN did a really good job of battling back. I think we saw how well their team fight worked together, in that composition in particular. I think it was mostly composition-based. If Hype Unit go for a more team-focused composition this time around, I don't think we see a game that stalls quite as long.
And again, if that goes 5-10 more minutes, all of a sudden the late game prowess of the Zeus and everything comes online. Hype Unit prevent that from happening. One game in the books. Let's break it down.
One game in the books and potentially two more to go. We'll certainly find out, but after that performance by Hype Unit, maybe we'll be done in two. Taco, what was it for you that stood out? Because we talked about Layers on this Awilix and needing to get off to a good start, and he might struggle late. We never saw that. My man was running from minute 1 to minute 38.
Well, I think that was a large part of the problem, though, for One Night at LAN, is just that Inbound and Layers had way too much success on the Awilix and the Achilles, respectively. It just felt like whether it was one or the other looking to make an aggressive play, it didn't take very long for somebody else from Hype Unit to show up. And I think that that is mostly credited to the fact that this is just a team that feels a little bit more like a well-oiled machine. These players are just so familiar and accustomed to that competitive style of play that it builds a different level of synergy with your team. And I think that it's very evident when just breaking down these individual performances, because we did see a lot of individual standout moments. That's kind of what Hype Unit's draft was designated for.
Yes.
But I definitely do think that One Night at LAN had opportunities, they just weren't very well capitalized on.
Yes, One Night at LAN had some chances. The early game for them wasn't so bad. It was a bit of a rocky start, yes, but they had some strong plays from Keegan in particular. I saw him making some plays. JPrro, excuse me, never really got off the ground, particularly on this Mercury pick, so we didn't get to see a ton of value out of that one either. So there were a couple things that I think that went wrong for this One Night at LAN team. And the problem is that Hype Unit, at least from what I saw, was beating them in both categories in terms of the individual skill, and they were playing together as a team. It's hard to change something like that in the middle of a set, but maybe trying to make sure that you don't let like this Hype Unit team have early pressure for free feels like to me the way they would try and do it. Maybe get some more early picks that can hit the ground running right away.
No, I definitely see what you're aiming at there, because it did feel like more often than not we saw Hype Unit, they would kind of just show up to an area or show up to a buff or positioning around Gold Fury, and then instantly we would see One Night at LAN looking to take the back step, and they're the ones that are looking to disengage first, or like they'll blow their ultimates defensively. I actually really like that Zeus pick for Soul Reaper. I think that he did a great job throwing out tons of damage. I just don't think that the rest of One Night at LAN really had much of a chance to really follow up there.